Hi guys, good morning. Welcome to MyDBO's eighth webinar, my webinar. I'm very glad to present today. So today we are going to talk about evolution of MongoDB replica set and its best practices. So this talk I choose because I like to share the recent changes made by MongoDB and what is the benefit it's going to provide in the infra level and what is the advantage of using it and other things. I hope this session will be quite good and very helpful for everyone. And thanks for joining us today. So let's jump into the talk. So myself, I'm Manoj Malai. Already Sandhana shared required info. I don't like to put a lot of things here. I'm a CTO of MyDBOps, and I'm very much interested in MongoDB DevOps and DevOps practices in the organization. So MyDBOps is a database expert solution company. We are morely focused in consulting and services. We are very much focused on MySQL, MongoDB, and Postgres. This is the top three open source database which is in the market. So we are very aggressively focusing on this database. So our team is very, very good enough in this handling this all scale of database system or any scale which is coming to our end. We are helping our client to scale or manage 24/7, highly available. This all kind of support which is provided by us. So we have 500 plus clients in last 5 years of operation. I have projected few of them, well known for everyone. And we are operating in all over the world. We are helping all over the world clients, particularly Europe and other US and other places. So let's jump. What is the today agenda of the talk? First, we will start with the introduction. Second, I like to share the best practices. I request my clients or my vendors to implement in their replica set, and what is the excitement feature and evolution happened recently with MongoDB replica set. Particularly, this is focused on the replica set. I'm not. It will take more time, so I'm just going to focus only on the replica set excitement features. Introduction. So basically, whenever I'm going for any support or whenever I'm closely working with any client, they ask this question: whether MongoDB fit for large data, because they are very much worried. I know that data is very critical for every business. They ask this question very well. I will tell only one thing. It is not about any. It is not about MongoDB. Even if you use MySQL or Postgres or Cassandra, the database will be designed only on the based on the use cases. That is very much important. So we cannot blame any database solution for the problem. So you need to understand and you need to utilize or you need to choose your certain database system in your environment or your application. So the use case is very much important. So let's come to the question again. Yes, MongoDB is designed efficiently to handle large data sets. Particularly, you can scale your database in two ways. One is vertical and horizontal scale. Horizontal scaling. When you're talking about horizontal scaling, it is achieved through the sharding and MongoDB. Sharding. So in lot of open source database system, if you need to integrate the sharding component to the database, you need to take a third-party component or third-party library or some kind of tool to achieve the horizontal scaling. But the beauty of MongoDB is they in the core system itself they integrated the sharding concept and it is work well versed till this time, and even they evolve as much as this possible. They are cracking lot of user problems and they are doing very awesome jobs in the sharding. So horizontal scaling is achieved through the sharding. Vertical scale. So vertical scaling is it will be adapted by the small scale and medium scale solution, and it is helped to it is in the MongoDB. It is called as a replica set concept. So they will bump up the CPU, RAM, and IO, and they just manage the simple system. But if you are going to handle large amount of data, huge amount of data, the horizontal scaling is one of the best options. We always any MongoDB engineer will recommend. So horizontal and vertical scaling also designed based on the requirement. But this is one of the beautiful questions. After the first question, people will ask when I can go for sharding. That is totally a critical question to talk about. So for better understanding, this is the way how vertical scaling will happen. This is the way horizontal scaling is. We start with small baby, and whenever we have high traffic or high load, we will bump up the instance size in the configuration level of resources like RAM, CPU, and something. In horizontal scaling, you will add a small instance in the sharding places and you scale them. This is the way. So I just like to represent in the small diagram, so I use this. Maybe this diagram is not available in Google. I just put it for myself. So MongoDB replication and best practices. So you may think, and I also think when I designed this, when I created this PPT, I also think, suppose if a newbie come to my presentation, I don't like to disappoint because they don't know what is replication, replica set. So I created some base, but I don't take more time on it. I try to make everyone useful. So whenever user is writing from the application, it will hit the primary and it asynchronously go to the other secondaries. So it is a distributed system. So whenever you are anything you are writing in the database, it will go to the primary and it will asynchronously replicate to the secondary system. In MongoDB, we don't have anything like multi-master concept. So everything will be a single master. All writes will be accepted by the only one node that is called as a primary. So the primary will have a responsibility to replicate the data to the secondary nodes. What happened? As you told Manoj that this is a distributed system. What happens if my primary goes down? Yeah, the beauty is when the primary goes down, automatically another secondary will become a primary. So your job is very easy. You don't need to go on manually and type a bunch of command to change a secondary to primary. So it is automatic failover, which is inbuilt in the MongoDB. It is very good known for every DBA, but I'm just, as I told, it is for newbies. So what is the time it will take, Manoj? That is very important in the business matter, right? So usually the election timeout millisecond will happen in 10 seconds. Next 2 seconds, max of 2 seconds, the new primary will be elected. So the max of 12 seconds will be happen between the next primary election duration. From one primary went down, and another secondary going to be become a primary. It is the max of 12 seconds. Even you can control that through some variable called election timeout millisecond. You can change it into some 10 second to 5 second using a set parameter, but it will create lot of network bandwidth, because every time it will go to the other secondary and primary will check are you alive. So this is the standard setting, but if you have very aggressive environment and your servers are not very much stable, you can go for reducing the time for election time out millisecond to some other value. So okay, so you told that we have one primary and multiple secondaries. So what is the max of secondaries? 1 second. Sorry. What are the max of secondaries? So you can have maximum 50 members, 50 secondary nodes in a replica set. So if you have a 50 members in the replica, so the next question is how many members will vote for the election? It is not a democracy. So the number of people in the election is very much important. Out of 50, 7 members can vote in the replica set election to elect a primary. That is one of the quite important things. So you cannot think that, so Manoj, I have a 50 member max, why don't I create a 50 replica node? I don't, till my experience, I don't see more than 7 replica node, because that scale, if you are going, I better recommend to go for shard. So basically 3 node or 5 node or 8 node replica is good enough for the infra. So it is the max MongoDB is giving to the user. So how the member count, or so another very important factor when you are designing your replica set architecture is always you need to keep your replica member into odd value. Suppose 1 is odd value, 3 is odd value, 5 is odd value, 7 is odd value. So you need to keep the replica member, total replica member in the odd value, including a primary. So you may ask, why Manoj? Because MongoDB is using the Raft algorithm. It is more important that even if you have a 7 replica node and 6 replica node, sorry, even if you have 5 replica node and 6 replica node, there is no difference in the failure case. How this will be decided, Manoj? The next question you will get from you'll get in your mind is how it will be decided. Because I have 5 node, I will be good. 6 node, it is much better, you think, but based on the Raft algorithm, which is using the consequence algorithm, which is running behind the MongoDB election, it is not like that. What do you think? So we called as a majority node. Majority node is a very important thing. So, for example, I have a 5 number of voting member, the majority will be 3. Even I have a 4 number of voting member, the majority will be 3. And the fail tolerance will be different. So here, we will take a scenario here. For example, I have a 6 member. 6 replica member. So 6 is a even number. So I will take a formula n divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 and plus 1 will be 3, 4. The majority always need to be 4. The majority always need to be 4. But the number of tolerable failure will be 2. When you're going for a 7, the 7 is an odd number, so I need to use a formula 7 plus 1, 8, and divided by 2, 4. Then the majority will be 4, the number of tolerable. When you're going for 5, you see that 5 and 6 will be the very equivalent value to compare. The number of tolerable failure is same. Even you are going for 5, your tolerable failure is 2. 6, you are going to be 2. But the majority node only makes the difference. So whenever you are designing the replica set node architecture, you need to be consider this formula. Better you keep the voting member into the odd value. That is simple max. You don't need to get into this simple complex calculation. Try to keep your replica member in the odd. Either keep it 5 or 3, 5, 7 in this way. If you're going for odd, even you have a majority plus 1 value, it is no use, because then you are again going to a trap. What is the Manoj? What is the problem if I have the value what you are telling is number of following member is lesser than the majority? What happened is, you are right, as I told, right, only the primary can accept a right. In this majority way, the primary will be failed. The primary can't be elected. During that time, the all right operation will be failed. So another important thing in the replica set is there are 2 preferences which is available. It is help to decide the behavior of the write and read operation. Read, what do you mean by behavior? So how my read will be behave? As I told, MongoDB is a distributed system. You don't need to tell this is a primary to your application. You don't need to tell this is a primary, this is a secondary, this is the secondary. MongoDB driver have the capability to capture the replica set status, and based on the status, it automatically route all the read traffic and write traffic based on your read preference. So right now, for example, the time is 11:15. Right now, the node B is a primary. By time 11:16, the node BA became a primary. So the write will be automatically routed to the A node. So you don't need to go to your application. You don't need to tell Arey Baba, this is A node is a write node, so don't go. So it is automatically handled by the driver. So the read preference will help to make the balancing of read and write much better. So first we'll start with the read preference. In the read preference, primary and primary preferred. Primary is all the read will be hit the primary. The second, the primary preferred is the all the read will be go to the primary. If the primary is not available, the read will be go to the secondary. This is as wise for the secondary and secondary preferred. You can take as reverse. Like in write preference, the write preference is a write majority. Whenever you are writing, as I told, it will write in the primary, then it will replicate to the secondary. It will put its write in the primary, and it will wait for the acknowledgement of other secondary to update it into the in the white tiger buffer or journal level, then it will get the acknowledge from the secondary, then it will acknowledge to the application. It is the right, basically the default write preference is W:1. You, based on your requirement and data integrity or like that, you can decide the write preference value. And journal is another next level. It not only write the white tiger buffer, it also insists to write the MongoDB to write in the journal. That is in Postgres people call val. So what are the types of secondary member we are having? Totally, we have 4 types. You can decide based on your need. So basically, primary, secondary. The secondary behavior will be changed on this member type. You can define your primary, secondary in priority 0, hidden, delay, and arbiter. So priority 0 will accept the read. It will answer for the queries, application queries. It will vote, but at any cost, it won't become a primary. Suppose you are keeping a secondary node just for a warm-up state. If this primary goes down, automatically this node will become a primary. So that node, it won't become a primary. It only accept the read. You manually go and change the primary. The hidden node is different. You can use the hidden node to take a backup kind of thing. You can take it for running analytical query, because it won't accept the real-time application queries. If you need to talk to the hidden node, you need to talk to it directly. You cannot use the replica set connection URI. And delay node is, it's some kind of backup. You know that everyone in MongoDB will know that delay node is very critical. Backup is a very critical part. Delay node is, in some way you can achieve the backup solution. Like you can keep a 1 hour delay, that the backup, if anything happen at the primary, the loss of the data will be 1 hour. You can switch the hidden node, the delay node into the primary node, and you can solve the business instead of taking a complex backup system and restore it. That is totally chaos. If you find that particular delay time, arbiter is just for election. You don't keep any data, it just vote. This tabular column help to understand the types of the secondary and its the characteristics. So the another final thing is replica set best practice. We always recommend to use the replica set configuration in the host name instead of the IP. If you have any challenges or any node swap going to be happen, you don't need to change IP and you don't need to update the RS config very frequently. If you update the host name, automatically everything will be happen. As I told you, you always need to keep the replica set number is odd value, and oplog recovered. So in MongoDB replica set, oplog is very important, have a very important place. So you always make sure you need to keep the oplog recovery window in 24 hours. In some use cases, I personally saw 45 minutes oplog recovery window. It is very, very disaster. If any node which is going down, secondary node going down for 30 minutes or 1 hour, you need to do an initial sync. The total data size need to be synced. So try to maintain the oplog recovery window as much as possible. We recommend 24 hours. And we also recommend to use the 3 types of connection URI. I will divide this into 3 categories. One is consistency read, eventually consistent, and write consent. Consistency read means you are writing something into the application, and next second you are going to, or next second or next millisecond you are going to read from the primary. I always recommend to use a connection URI with the primary, just primary, not primary preferred. Eventually consistent, that I write a data which is 10 minutes before, I need to read it. So create a new connection URI, put it as a secondary preferred. So what will happen? All the application eventually consistent read will go for a secondary. It won't only hit the primary. So this 2 kind of read balance connection URI will help you to balance the read in all use cases application. And write consent, basically we always recommend write consent :1, because MongoDB is not more into transactional business till now. Even though a lot of people, MongoDB introduced the transactional behavior, but not a lot of businesses taking into the transactional way. But if you need write consent more, you can use a majority or number of node 4 or 3, whatever value you are giving, the write acknowledgement will be happen on that. So the nearest is one of the interesting feature, that is although read preference behavior. The nearest is, if you have a 2 data center, you can find a query below. I have shared db.collection.find read preference nearest and DC east. Suppose I have a distributed application, like I am in the east, I have a database in the east. So if you from your application you are hitting this, what it will think from application, it will check the ping time of the nearest database. Based on the ping time, it will choose the DB node, and the tag help to specify the particular tag node, and it will fire the query. So if you have a multiple distributed system, I have a few instances in the east, I have few instances in west, or other availability zone, this nearest read preference will be help here. And replica set best practices in second slide, I like to introduce a few very important thing is replica member authentication. That is very, very important. Like in the replica member authentication, so Amit, I will come to all your question by end of the slide. Please hold with me. Sorry for the inconvenience. So in the cluster mode, basically most of the time they don't use a key file. The next level people use some key file of OpenSSL hyphen parameter, like they will create a 1024 byte key file and put the same key file. But what I recommend in the higher security environment, I recommend to use if you already enabled if you already enable the TLS in the transactional transport layer, you can also enable in the cluster auth mode also using this parameter. And another best practices we recommend is most of the MongoDB people blunderly just install and started to use. They don't enable the authorization also. We recommend to enable the authorization. And another very important is I come with the direct solution, like segregate your operation role, like operation user, DB user, and super user. When you are segregating this operation role, you can easily achieve, you can easily avoid unwanted human error. So even I shared the list of role, you can put it into 3 category. Maybe it will be very helpful for the DBA to segregate their process. Operation user, 99% have only the read privilege other than the create index. Even ops user don't have access to the drop index. So this the whole roles I specified here, you can use it for the purpose whichever it is matching. Another best practice is in the Linux level, I'm coming again. So when you, even though every MongoDB application, 90% which is running in the Linux, very rare people use Windows. So always run the MongoDB in the no login shell and the non-privileged user. Don't allow MongoDB talk to over internet. Use XFS file system, and particularly in XFS, you please specify the attribute what I specified here: read, write, no A time attribute, inode 64, no quota, and even you can use slash no device file also. So this make little secure and reduce lot of pressure from the file system level. And disable the huge page is a very important thing. Whenever you are, because MongoDB perform very good with the normal virtual memory paging. Huge page is different concept. By default, Linux paging is 4 KB. When you are going for a huge page, it will be the page size will be for 8 KB or 16 KB. MongoDB is very good with the normal paging. And another important thing is disable the NUMA. We always recommend to disable NUMA. Mongo is not that much, or Mongo is not that understandable with the NUMA. Even most of the community database is not that much good with the NUMA. I believe Oracle work with NUMA good enough, but so we recommend to disable. And everyone know database is a non-sequential access, data access. So read ahead is another kind of wasting a resource. If your read ahead is configured with 32 KB, reduce it to the 16 KB. You know the logical thing, right? Because it's going to access the data sequentially. You don't need to read ahead of more data which is not needed by the database. So you limit also very important thing. You need to very much focus on the open files and the number of processing. So all thing very plainly, very transparently, I put it into the slide. You can refer it, or you can, if you have any question, you can ask me at the end of the session, or you can write an email also. And the other thing is network level. These are the network parameter we always recommend. And the below I have shared the dirty page ratio. So I'm not going to be more in detail what it is. I'm sorry for that. But this parameter, you can just Google it and understand. But these are the recommended value which we follow in the production use cases. So next we come for MongoDB evolution and its recent exciting features. So before that, I like to share small picture which is created by ourselves, how MongoDB replica set started and where it is now. So it is started in 1.1. MongoDB started with master slave replication, and now it is 1.4. I don't like to specify all the things. Now we are in 5.0. I know it. I'm not including 5.0 because this talk morely focused on 4.0. I stopped it there. We have a resumable initial sync, streaming replication, minimum oplog retention, and particularly index build simultaneous database. These are the cool, interesting feature. Anyway, I'm going to discuss in next slide. So let's start with the resumable initial sync. What does mean by resumable initial sync? To keep short and sweet, I'm talking before 4.4, primary and secondary. We are having primary and secondary. I have a primary. The secondary node is doing an initial sync. This primary node goes down. In some worst case, it's going down or network got interrupted. The secondary node not able to fetch the data. What happened is it start the initial sync again. For example, I am copying 1 TB of data, and this secondary node trying to capture the data. It's nearly 900 GB. During that time, there is something happened. This node goes down. The worst scenario is it need to start from 1 byte again, the secondary. So this is fixed in the 4.4 version with few parameters like network collection drop, collection rename. Particularly, I like to specify these things like whenever you are doing initial sync, you know network error. When the network is up, it's automatically do the initial sync. Particularly, people very question about the collection rename. What about collection rename, Manoj? Whenever you are doing initial sync, you are renaming the collection. That particular thread will be stopped and disconnected. It will be added into the oplog of primary. So that will be synced later. The replication, the initial sync will be continued. But in the previous case, it will be failure. So that is the thing. Then how much transmission error retry will be happen? That is controlled by the below parameter I have shared in the slide. For 24 hours, the secondary node try to reach this primary again and again and again and again and again. For 24 hours. It is reconfigurable, you can reconfigure. And another beauty, I like to show a demo, but very unfortunately, I'm running out of time. In the resumable initial sync, it's also monitorable. In the previous version, there is no any transparent way to monitor, but in the recent version of 4.4, they have added the feature like replica set get status, initial status. So I have shared here. So this so I'm doing a lot of collection database. You see, this is the database and this is the collection. Mongo data gen is a database, test is a collection. It is telling when it is started, when it will end, and how much document to be copied and all blah, blah thing. So this is very length output. I just took some part. This is the command to execute it. To get the thing is, this command need to be executed on the secondary. You can get this output till only in the startup 2 mode. So as you know, right, when you are started the initial string, it is in the startup phase. After the startup phase, it will go to the startup 2. From the startup 2, it will convert it into the secondary space. In the startup phase, it will work. So another beauty command is we have a JavaScript which is created by one of the MongoDB system engineer. It is also in the GitHub. I shared the link in the reference of the slide. When you are executing this command as it is, you will get actual very neat output, like how much is cloned, how much is copied in last 5 seconds, something like that. Till the initial sync is completed, you can get a very clean output here. But it is not able to produce the particular document, a particular database collection level copy, but overall it will be helped to get. So this is one of my few years back, I created the internal replica flowchart. I like to present it here. It helps to understand how the replica internally work. Like it is before 4.4. That is very important thing I like to highlight here. This flowchart only applicable for before 4.4. I will move it quickly. Secondary node, create a background sync thread. The background sync thread will choose a sync source The sync source means which node I need to get the data uplog, because MongoDB I have a capability to sync from other secondary also. So it helped to choose the secondary, and this is selected. Uplog fetcher will be created. The uplog fetcher will fetch create another thread called fetcher. The fetcher will execute the fetcher will go to the primary or other secondary to capture a data, go to the primary and execute the find command. The find command will have a three kind of data. One is non-empty batch with lost uplog entry. This is quite interesting block. I shared the link. When you have the data, it will directly go to the secondary node. It won't directly go and write the data. It will put the data into the uplog buffer. Then from the uplog buffer, it will be replicated to the node. This is simple understanding. The very important thing is this is before 4.4. The streaming will be single thread streaming. The replication will be single threaded replication. Only the uplog fetcher is the responsible for whole 1 TB or 5 TB or 500 GB of data sync. So that is very important. So after streaming replication is introduced, we have it continuously streaming data from the primary or other secondary node. Before 4.4, we have a 16 MB document written to get the data. This is the streaming replication, and this is quite interesting feature because what MongoDB is claiming is, when you are going for a streaming replication, your RTT network RTT is saved nearly 50%. The performance of write majority is improved by 50%. Whenever you have application with write majority, if you have already the write acknowledgement having 5 seconds, now the write acknowledgement will be in the 2.5 seconds. I'm just for telling for example. So this is also controlled by the initial sync transmit error retrieve period second. So using this parameter, you can control this. And another interesting feature is minimum uplog retention. So this is also quite interesting feature. In 3.6, MongoDB introduced real-time uplog size change. Before that, you need to restart, delete, and lot of noise will be happen to change the uplog size. But after 3.6, they introduced real-time uplog changes. In 4.4, they add one more feature called minimum retention period. The beauty is, for example, I am going to do an initial sync of 1 TB. I started the initial thing today. I know that the initial sync will be completed by 2 days, that is 48 hours. So I can specify the minimum retention period 45 hours into the this command. What happened is, in some cases, I personally trapped in this scenario. Like, I started an initial sync between 1 TB. It's going to finish nearly 50 GB is bending. That during that time the initial sync is failed, and because of the uplog is purged in the primary due to the heavy write happen in the primary. So in this kind of scenario, you can specify the uplog to insist that you need to keep as much as 48 hours of uplog, even though the uplog size is 50 GB. If you insist to retain the 48 hours of uplog, what MongoDB will tell, it will ignore the size which is specified. It will use more disk space from the system. So it will try to retain the data. So that the disk space will not be considered. That is very much important. So Manoj, what happened if I have more uplog size now and I like to reduce it? Yeah, you can do it. You can resize your uplog, but the disk climb will be happen after running the compaction place. You know, when you are running compaction, there will be exclusive lock will be happen. So you need to do it at the non-production level. You can specify a max uplog size is 1 petabyte. Another one of the quite interesting feature is mirror read. Mirror read is like I told, right, when you have a priority 0 node, it is very high intensive read application. When the primary goes down, the primary cache will be designed based on the read query hit to the database. So if this primary goes down, I need to take another secondary to make it as a primary here. That time the cache warm up will take time. During that time, a lot of cache miss and a lot of disk load and disk query throughput will be totally disaster. So using the cache mirror, you can configure that few read option also go to this secondary. So what happened, the same pattern of cache will be populated into the another node. So when this primary goes down, this secondary will come to the place of that primary and solve the business without more chaos. That is very beauty of the mirror read. but this is very specific use cases. So the very important question is how it is selected. When you're configuring a priority, like this is first primary, this is when this goes down, this secondary node to become a primary based on the priority value. In replica set, you can specify the priority value. So automatically based on that priority, it will promote it. Other thing is MongoDB also, replica, how it will work. The latest data which is ever having it, based on that it will select it. So this is control that how much percentage of read I need to send is, that is totally configurable using this parameter, mirror read parameter. So the value will be start from 0 to 1. That is very important. Whenever giving 0.1 sample rate, the 10% of primary read will be sent to the other priority secondary, that next electable primary. So that read will be hit, but that read will not create that much noise in this primary. That is very important. It will just send and forget it. What are the mirror read operation which is support right now is count, distinct, find and modify. Specifically that filter will go, the update operation won't go there, only the specific filter, same for the update. So the final slide is simultaneous indexing. This is quite interesting because every day as a DBA, MongoDB DBA, we create index in the database. We will create an index here and we will sit like this and wait for some time. After primary is completed, the secondary will be started. So after 4.4, they solve these greatest challenges like problem. When you're starting in this primary, automatically the secondary also, like in secondary also index will be created. So this is the flowchart I created for this use case. Whenever you are executing create index command in primary, the start index build oplog will be inserted into the oplog with the exact command, index creation command. All the secondary will get it and start the index build. Each one, the index build done by all the secondary, they will vote to the quorum of primary. So once here two scenario will be happen. There may be key violation, or there may be some index creation error, or there may be success. There are two scenarios. When there is a success, MongoDB primary will commit the index build, then only the index will be visible to the queries. Till that time, even though the index finished at the DB level, it is not visible to the query. So when all the primary is committed, that is also configurable. When the secondary is committed, the quorum, if then the index will be visible to the query. If there is any key violation like unique key error or something happen while creating index, what will happen? The index creation will be aborted overall the replica set. That is very important thing here. The second thing is how you configure the quorum is you can commit quorum majority. When even you can create the commit quorum in the index creation level, or you can create using this command also. So commit quorum, it's like a write concern also. It's similar to write concern. I need only a 2 node to confirm that index creation, you can do it. So another very important thing is from 4.2, you cannot kill the index creation using kill off. That is very, very important. I like to specify, I like to share with my DBAs. You need to use db.collection name drop index. That will kill even the index which is in progress. So this is very important and very highlighted thing I like to share. And I didn't include one very important thing in the slide is simultaneous, any interruption happen at the index creation, because previously only it is created on primary, then it will sync. Now it is parallel. Manoj, if one secondary is restarted for some problem, what happened? After 5.0, from 5.0, if the node is creating index and it is shut down or something happened, when you're starting up, the index will be resumed where it left, because it saved the index in the disk level. Before 4.4 or 4.0, it's between here, what will happen? 4.0, the behavior will be different. In 4.4, the index will be restarted. It will be restarted. In 4.0 on previous, you need to recreate an index. That is, few difference will be there. Due to the time constraint, I'm not included, but this is very important. So this all about the MongoDB replica set best practices and the recent feature, guys. So I'm open for the question. And I like to thanks everyone to keep with me. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. So Selva here, Santana has to jump in for other things, for other priorities is unplanned. So let me continue from the Q&A session. So we have the habit of addressing the questions at the end of the session. So Manoj, we have a lot of questions from our attendees, but in the interest of time, so we will, address few of the question. I'll unmute some of the attendees one by one. So first, I'm going to unmute Rahul Sinha. Just give me a moment.
Hi, Rahul.
Yeah, Rahul, you can unmute from your end.
Yeah, hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Rahul.
Yeah, you just mentioned that, election time is almost average is 12 second. Okay. So my concern is that apart from the in between some transaction has come, and apart from the retry logic, can we handle that from the database side so transaction could not be lost? And one more question is that related to oplog. Can we reapply the oplog several times? It won't produce any duplication of data like MySQL, Binlog.
Yeah, it's a quite interesting question. Thanks, Rahul. The first question, unfortunately, it need to be the retrievable right need to be handled in the application level. In database level, there is no anything like you can handle, because during that time we don't have a primary, and MongoDB driver have total intelligence to handle the situation, and retrievable right also now changed from in the driver level itself. In application also it is you can totally overcome. In driver level, that is a retrievable right, you can achieve it there, not in the application level. That is for the first question. Second question, oplog. Oplog is quite interesting place to discuss lot of things, and they evolve a lot in the recent after 4.0. So as you asked, can we apply same oplog multiple times, but you need to be very much precise on the oplog position and everything. Sure, you can do it, and we also achieved a lot of things through the way what you ask. We have a client we have one client of I cannot able to disclose the name. They have in the physical data center, they ask us to move the 1 TB of migrated data. They are in the master slave application. Basically, what people will tell is in master slave application, if you need to convert into the replica set, you need to take one node with the data, and you need to change its RS. You need to disable the master slave configuration and initiate into the RS initiate, and other node need to the initial sync. What we did is in local database, there is a few collection called min valid and other few replica set status, or few collection. We inject the oplog readable position in that place, and we take the secondary to read from that position. So oplog is not oplog will be skipped from the position. Yeah, you can do it, but you need to be very much sure at what you are doing.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Rahul. So hope
Thanks, Manoj. Thanks.
Thanks, Rahul. Thanks. Amit is asking something. I think he's raising his hand.
Yeah, let me unmute Amit.
Hi Manoj, I'm and my question is there any thumb rule to define an oplog size? Because as we know that as per MongoDB documentation, it is written that you can put a 5% of your available hard drive. So is there any thumb rule to define an oplog size?
No, it is totally all how you are handling your write operation. So oplog is only a copy of your write operation. It is going to replicate to the secondaries. For recently, I have a scenario. I have a client. They are having a very huge write operation.
Okay.
Have 50 GB. Do you know the oplog retention recovery window is just 45 minutes? So according to the Mongo documentation, they are telling 50 GB is the max, but it is officially, but you can configure the oplog size even more also. Even you can go for 1 petabyte. So it is totally, you need to decide based on your write workload. That is very important. Okay. There is no any standard way, but one thing you need to keep in mind is the recovery window is minimum 24 hours. That is very good enough.
But how we define that 24-hour for the
You need,
oplog.
so there is in Grafana we have a graph, and
Okay,
you
okay,
need-
okay, okay,
yeah.
okay, got it. I have one more question. Can I ask?
Yeah, Amit, you are
Yeah.
asking something.
In one of your slide, you write that we disable the NUMA during the OS configuration. Then I think it is good to enable it to, because it shares the resources of your CPU. But
Yeah.
as per your slide, you were saying that need to disable the NUMA architecture. Is that mean, can I understand that those machines or operating system, those are
So
not
basically,
supporting?
yeah, I got it. I got your question. I got your question. Basically, before NUMA, the concept is called SMP, symmetric multiprocessing system. So after the SMP, we got the NUMA. NUMA is a thing like we have a multiple core. Each core will have a zone of memory, and this zone will not access this memory. This zone will not. Basically, the system is very nice. The NUMA system is, but the DB don't have a capability to understand the CPU architecture and memory zones. So it won't keep the memory in the particular zone, and the MongoDB don't have a capability to understand and interact with the NUMA, because there will be overload of memory zone places. It will be fail. Lot of performance impact will be happen. Even we have a lot of blocks. It not from IDBOps also. There are other community people wrote a lot of blog why we need to disable NUMA in the databases. Specifically, NUMA is very good with Oracle, I personally know. But even for MySQL, I'm not know about Postgres. For Mongo, we always recommend to disable NUMA, because that zone climbing will not be good with this database system.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Amit.
Yeah, thanks, Amit. So let me Mahesh Manda. So he had a question during the session. So Mahesh, you can unmute from your end. Okay, let's pass on to next.
Mohammed is raising hand.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. I'm audible.
Yeah,
Hi,
you're
Mohammed. Hi.
Sir, as I'm new in the MongoDB, just I now know how to install the MongoDB and how some basic level of shardings. So I want to learn from scratch, sir.
So MongoDB documentation is the best place to start. That is one thing. And even MongoDB don't have good courses for sharding right now. Even in the university level, they don't have a courses for sharding. But you can start with documentation. Documentation is the best place to start. I recommend to go there. And we have a lot of video, and other community-driven teams or people have shared a lot of video on YouTube. But I recommend to start with MongoDB documentation. For replica set, you have a good university videos in the MongoDB itself, MongoDB University. I recommend to go for it. For aggregation, for code operation, for all other things, they have a tutorial, university tutorial. But for sharding, they don't have right now. Maybe they will come with the future. I also using this panel, I also recommend MongoDB to create something like that for particularly sharding. For sharding, I recommend to go with the documentation. Documentation is very, very good at. Mohammed, I hope I answered.
Did you provide any training, sir?
No, we are not. We are not into training right now. Very unfortunately. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
Suresh.
Let me allow Pon Suresh.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Pon Suresh.
Yeah. So in MongoDB 4.4, you mentioned like if you are creating an index, so it will be replicating on both primary as well as secondary.
Yeah, right.
So in this case, does it will block any writes on that particular collection?
Basically, MongoDB before that, 4.4 or 4 before 4.4, MongoDB have two type of index creation. One is background for index creation and foreground index creation. After that, I have also talked about the performance impact of foreground and background in my previous talk. So let's come to the point state. By default, when you are creating index, it automatically goes in the background and it is totally balanced. You don't get more block visually, but there will be little lag. It's only affect the index creation speed. We don't lock any data. There will be slowness. When you are creating index, if you are getting heavy write operation, there may be a slower index creation, but it won't block the write. That is the lock which is happened between the writing and index creation. The index creation will get slow, but the write will be as it is. But if it is throttling your disk, maybe the performance will be impacted. You understand the logic, right, Ponsuresh? So it is based on the disk. So both write and this thing going to be happen. If the index creation is throttling your disk, maybe you will affect the index, maybe you will affect some throughput issue. Otherwise, this index creation will not affect the performance. So, but we always recommend to do the index creation during the non-production hours. The only major difference is the challenge is, Suresh, personally what we face, we basically in database, right, index creation will take more time if you're having more data. In MongoDB before 4.4, if the index creation started in primary, we will wait for 3 hours and it will be replicated to other secondary. We need to wait another 3 hours. That is a total disaster. Right now, this will reduce a lot of problem.
Okay.
But the performance wise, we don't get more impact, but we always recommend to create in the non-production hours.
Okay. Yeah. And
Yeah.
one more question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like, so for example, if I have 15 read replicas, okay.
Sorry.
If I have 15 read replicas.
50,
Yeah,
5.
1.5.
Okay, 1.5.
So in this case, you mentioned like only 7 members can vote to choose the next primary, right?
Yeah, right.
So is it possible to mention like this replica can vote and this replica can vote? For example, replica 2 can able to vote and the 3 and 5, 7. Like,
it's totally it is totally based on the algorithm. It is totally based. The randomly choose node will be elected because everyone try to vote. Only the 7 member can accept the vote. That is the only thing. Okay. Every member try to vote, but only the 7 member the vote will be considered by the cluster.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Ponsuresh.
Yeah, thanks, Ponsuresh. So in the interest of time, we'll have the last attendees, Pawan Gupta. I'm unmuting Pawan.
Hi, Pawan.
Hello.
Hi, Pawan.
Hey, hi, Manu. Hello, I'm audible?
Yeah, you are audible, please.
Yeah. Manoj, I have a query. In case of a MongoDB 3.6, we don't have any parameter like we can means limit the number of connection, like a MySQL means how many connection can connect from our database. So is there any way, new feature added in 4.4 that we can limit the number of connection that can handle our MongoDB database servers?
So in MongoDB, even 3.4, we have a max connection parameter in the config level. You can define this many max connection, which is handled by the MongoDB. Even it is there, 3.6.
Okay.
There is a parameter. Basically, people don't specify it because it will be set with the maximum bar 65,000, I think. And the MongoDB is more gelled with the Linux. The open file limit is totally integrated with the max connection. Each Mongo connection will be, say, one thread which is created for the MongoDB. If I am speaking with Mongo, one thread will be created. That connection will be one file, and it is the open file limit thing, and one max connection. So you can create multiple connections. So people are very lazy to specify it, but there is a parameter max connection in the config file. You can specify and you can limit.
Okay. Apart from that, any way that means suppose that in case of I allow any user, suppose that I access from means all application that is already whitelisted on IP table, right? So is there any way that like a MySQL that we can create user for the particular, including particular IP? means this user can access from the only from particular ID. Means suppose that I have whitelisted suppose that 10 application server in the IP table. So in the MongoDB, if I am creating user, we can just create user, not using the means IP table during the creating of user, right? So is there any way means we can restrict that?
So if I am understanding your question correctly, there is any way to allow or deny a user through the source IP. I'm right?
Yeah, right. But suppose that I'm just allowing through the IP table any means any host in the IP table, right? So that user, suppose that I created a one dummy user, that dummy user can connect any of the application that is already whitelisted from the IP table, right? So is there any way that we can restrict that particular user can access only IP, particular user can access only IP, like IP range, something like that?
Yeah, in MongoDB, we have a authorization. In authorization, you can allow, there is a parameter called the source and designation. Using the source, when you are creating a user or you have a user which is already exist on the MongoDB, there is an option in the user authorization parameter. You can control that from this IP only this user can access. There is option in authorization.
Okay.
And you also specify the designation. For example, we have a 3-node cluster. So
Okay.
all developer, for example, Manoj is your developer. You are telling that this Manoj developer need to access only the hidden node, because if the developer will very unfortunately they will execute some query or testing query in the production primary or production secondary. So you don't need to do it. Whenever you are creating a user for a developer, what we can do is we can give a developer to only access the hidden node or any other delay node to do their testing or some other thing. So in the authorization part, you can define source and designation also. You can define source. From this IP, user can access the designation. This database IP, they only access. We have 3-node replica set, but the developer have access to the developer or DBA have access to the particular node, not all 3 replica nodes. You can achieve.
So where we need to put this in the config file?
No, not in the config file. Whenever you are creating a user, you can update in the authorization. I recommend to go and check MongoDB user authorization documentation, any database, MongoDB, any version, you go to the MongoDB authorization. In authorization part, you can check it. Maybe Silva, please note down Pawan email. I will share the link.
Sure, Manoj. We'll do that.
Okay. Thanks, Manoj.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Pawan. So yeah, no, thank you so much, Manoj, for the enlightening session and very insightful one. So with this, we just came to the end of the session. So I'll ask Karthik to give the closing note, and meanwhile I'll ask all the attendees to follow us closely on all the social media handles like Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, all those stuff. So we share the updates frequently over there. Over to you, Karthik.
Hey, good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, thank you for coming over this weekend. And we are enlightened to see this huge support from the community. And we like to do it further because of your support. Yeah, thanks a lot. And it was a very good session. And meet you again in the next event. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Bye. Take care.